I love being able to go back and find these videos, Nick, of these people who have now magically changed their mind, and we're all questioning like what has happened to make these people change their mind. So this is sort of a Krystal versus Krystal segment. That's what we're calling her, because we know what she's saying now. Her and her husband Kyle, what they're both saying now, they're both saying the Democrats is far better. They're both saying make sure a Democrat wins the party. They're both saying Trump is all this stuff. And we covered the video Kyle versus Kyle. We're calling this Krystal versus Krystal, and it's not a dual video, but this is a classic video that I always talk about, Nick, and I say when she was on Rising, she was further left than what she is now.
Exactly. So when we said that, we said many times on our coverage that how do you become quote unquote independent and then shift to the right? They're way more establishment on Rising, and the reason why and these segments are extremely important, and that's why we do the Kyle versus Kyle clips. I'll show you guys old quote from Bernie Sanders, because I'm trying to remind you guys that we're not crazy. When you hear these people pretend they're radical and flip their opinions, I don't believe that realistic. We are watching these people sell out in real time. I will expound on that here very soon, but let's get to the clip.
Yes, all right. So that pretty much sets it up. I don't know how far long ago, but they both look very much younger. So this might be in the earlier.
This is during the Rising era. This a few years ago.
Yeah, way earlier in the Rising era. So let's.
And this is during the Trump. This is during the Trump era, because she's talking about the Trump Biden election. I want you guys to keep that in mind. But let's watch this.
Because I genuinely think people look at this and they're like, Biden's less bad than Trump, so just vote for Biden. But there's a rationale behind why it makes no sense for the left to line up behind Biden. You get nothing in return. And also,
Nick, for a person who's part of the professional managerial class, this is a mask off moment, because this is saying she knows that the people who need stuff from the government will not be getting anything, because if you align yourself with the Democratic Party and you're left, you're not getting nothing. She just said it. So she knows this, and she's still trying to push this because she has a big platform. She has no shame about this lie that she's now pushing.
This is exactly why I say I don't believe we can't give these people benefit of the doubt. I don't know why people do. I don't believe you go from being a sweet summer child, waking up, seeing through the propaganda, and then you become a sweet summer child again. Like, that is not believable. CJ, we had times in our lives where we were sweet summer children, and then we woke up and grew up. We are not children no more. We are now adults that can analyze propaganda. You don't become a sweet summer child, grow up, and then revert back to a child. That's a decision that you make. We've played many times on the show, and you guys can relate, I am sure. Once you see through the propaganda, you can't unsee it. So when you see this clip, and when you see Krystal say this and the rest of this clip, you guys will see that she didn't unsee this info that she is telling you now. She is deciding not to see it now. She's deciding not to share the perspective anymore. She's going to have a Gen Z debate on her channel, though. So play the beginning part again, and we can let it finish. I want to see play the beginning, and then we can let it play some more. I want you guys to hear that part again.
Here we go.
Because I genuinely think people look at this and they're like, Biden's less bad than Trump, so just vote for Biden. But there's a rationale behind why it makes no sense for the left to line up behind Biden. You get nothing in return. And also, by the way, some of us really do believe that Trump is a symptom of the problem and that the root of the problem is.
So now she doesn't believe he's not just a symptom now. He's no longer just a symptom. Now he's the person. He's Thanos here to destroy democracy. Now he's different. I don't believe. So basically, Nick, to your point, basically, Krystal Ball is the Benjamin Button of politics. She ages backwards in politics. she doesn't age and keep going forward. She ages backwards. So I don't know if that's the right word, Benjamin Button, but I put that in the title. But this can't, it has to be some sort of outside influence that make this sort of pivot, because it's not even a soft pivot. This is a completely different thing that she's saying now. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, let's let this play all the way through. For the people, and I don't want to assume people seen this clip before. So just for the sake of time, I want people to compare these two clips. So for this segment, if you don't mind, CJ, I'm going to play this clip all the way through, right? And then let's get back to this so you guys see how unhinged this shift is. And I don't believe this is realistic. So we already commented on this video before. I just want you guys to see the direct comparison. So CJ, if you don't mind, I don't think there's any reason for us to comment on this.
No. We just play it all the way through.
Yeah.
Only thing that Cornel West, Dr. West, who I love, admire, respect, whose politics I almost wholly and completely share, I think effectively the only thing that his campaign will accomplish is, number one, helping to reelect Donald Trump, and number two, hurting the left. Because ultimately, you know, there's just a poll that came out that showed Biden and Trump basically tied in a head-to-head. You throw Cornel West in and Trump is winning by like 5 points. And the margin is just exactly the amount that Dr. West takes away from Joe Biden. Now, listen, it's fully on Joe Biden that he needs to do more to appeal to potential Cornel West voters. But let's live in the land of reality of how this is going to work out. They're not going to do that. Dr. West will take some percentage, relatively small percentage, away from the Democratic total, and it makes it easier for Donald Trump to get elected. So if your priority is reelecting a Democrat, and if you believe, as I do, that Donald Trump and Joe Biden are not equivalent, that Joe Biden has been better, in particular on economic policy, withdrawal from Afghanistan, then yeah, I think a third-party effort makes it more likely that Donald Trump gets reelected. And the reason why I say I think it will ultimately also hurt the left wing and left principles, if that's what you care about, is we have the model of 2016. Look, the theory in 2016 with Jill Stein was, if we withhold our votes from the Democrats, and that's going to force them to the table, we're going to have a voice in the room, they're going to have to come to our side. No, that's not what they did. Instead, they demonized anyone who would have even considered Jill Stein. They used it to demonize the left. They used it to undercut any sort of leftward push. And so while I would love to imagine that that theory of the case would work out, we've seen the reality, and that is not what happens. Now, the place where I profoundly disagree with Bernie Sanders is on his orientation towards the Democratic primary. And there's another section of this where he gets asked specifically about the Democratic primary. And he says, no, I think we need to unify behind Joe Biden because that will be what helps to defeat Donald Trump. Well, that's exactly the argument that was used against Bernie Sanders himself.
Yes.
Both in 2016 and again in 2020.
So if you guys want to see our full coverage of this garbage, make sure you check out Aaron cut a clip of that. But I want to show that for you guys because I don't want to assume everyone's seen that. Now let's watch old Krystal beat the fuck out of new Krystal.
All right, let's put this back up.
I laugh at my old positions. I make fun of myself all the time on here. I'll put it back up. I already put it up here. Let me put it back up. I make fun of my old political positions because I'll show you guys how I evolve. Right? It's realistic for someone to be a victim of the most propagandized country in the world. Right? We all were victims of propaganda. We grew up through the public education system. Most of us did. We constantly hammered by propaganda. And I don't think there's any shame of being a victim of propaganda. But we overcome that propaganda and we see through it. How do you go in reverse? That's why I make fun of my opposition. Like I used to say corporate Democrat. That was stupid. I used to believe that if you don't take corporate money, you're someone worth fighting for. That's stupid. You guys see how people evolve and they change, they become better. How do you regress like this? So after I show you guys this old clip, let's watch this. Now let's watch your clip, CJ. You can play if you want to. Now let's watch it. Now you got a fresh perspective on how much you changed. Let's watch old Krystal beat new Krystal up.
Because I genuinely think people look at this and they're like, Biden's less bad than Trump, so just vote for Biden. But there's a rationale behind why it makes no sense for the left to line up behind Biden. You get nothing in return. And also, by the way, some of us really do believe that Trump is a symptom of the problem and that the root of the problem is actually neoliberalism. So signing on for 4 or
Back
8 or even
in the future clip, she's like, I truly believe that Biden is better than Trump. But in this clip, I truly believe Trump is the system. You guys really believe this is fucking real? So you guys see, I can accurately explain my former views. She is literally pretending that she never had that position. What is that? Anyway, let's continue. Sorry, let's continue.
Yeah, like what if she said, "Yeah, I used to think he was only
exactly.
a symptom, but now I think he's." That's not what she's acting like. That never existed.
Yeah, they know. They don't even
12, potentially more.
Like, and that's a point I made to someone before. They don't even admit they changed. It'd be one thing like, yeah, I used to be anti-establishment, but now I'm a Democrat. They don't even acknowledge that because they hope that their new audience they cultivating don't see the old clips. They are cultivating a new audience. So they just switch like a WWE character when a pro wrestler decides to turn heel. Like they just switch. Maybe let's continue.
More years of that. What do you think you're going to end up with at the end of that? You'll be longing for the days of Trump.
Well, that's the issue. You understand power and they don't. They think that Trump is the cause of all of their problems, or at the very least, these Justice Democrats and these groups are willing to co-sign on that idea. The moment you co-sign on it, you lose all your credibility.
Right.
The moment you co-sign on that, you use all your credibility. Now, Sagar didn't say that. In the interview that you showed, he didn't go, hey, Krystal, you're losing your credibility here, ma'am. He didn't say that. Now, that means you're losing your credibility to Sagar because look what you said about a person who would do that, and you were in an interview with a person who did that.
Yep. Nodding your head along. No pushback at all. Me and RBN, we got a lot of core fundamental values, which is why we tend to get along on stream. But best believe if CJ randomly one day decided to say we're going to support Joe Biden, you're going to see us fight on stream for the first time. You know what I mean? You don't see those fights because we have generally universal value. But CJ, imagine if I went on one stream one day and I'm like, yeah, man, I think this is why we need to support Joe Biden. I said, I'm right. He's like, nigga, what?
What?
That'll be the first time y'all niggas see us fight. Like, hold on. Nigga, are you serious? I'm like, no, I'm
what?
serious. I'm like, nigga, actually, I'm serious. I know I said it. I would do the liberal logic. You be like, nigga, hold on, nigga. You would see us have a screaming match. There's no way CJ will be okay with me saying that Democrat liberal bullshit on air. Meanwhile, Sagar just here like, listen to the shit. Nigga, we getting paid. Nigga, you see this new dance? Nigga, I don't give a fuck. Nigga, my code sold out. I don't give a fuck. Now I'm good. You see this suit I got on? I don't give a fuck about principle at all. Damning clip, fam. Absolutely
for both
damning.
of them, in my opinion. Yeah. But let me play that last few seconds again because I did cut him off before he finished talking, and it's over. But let me just make
let's
sure
play it again.
We hear it. Yeah, we hear what he says here.
Their problems, or at the very least, these Justice Democrats and these groups are willing to co-sign on that idea. The moment you co-sign on it, you lose all your credibility for the things that you've been saying over.
Because I genuinely think people.
Now, for the things you've been saying over the years is what he was going to say, because I remember this clip, and that's the end of that clip, so we can bring it down. But this is, I mean, all of this, Nick, for the overall theme of the show, because she's part of the NATO left to the Nazi collaborators. So it's just not looking good for these Nazi collaborators, from AOC to Bernie Sanders to Jamal Bowman and now to Krystal Kulinski and Krystal Kulinski, or Crystal Ball if she still goes by Crystal Ball. But all of them now deciding to jump on board as a Nazi collaborator. And I'll just toss this up. That's the reason why we put this on here. Bernie Sanders is a Nazi collaborator. Joe Biden is a Nazi collaborator. AOC is a Nazi collaborator. And we already know about Marianne Williamson.